That was good. Good for a Saturday morning, too. So it's been a while since I've posted the videos that I categorize as morning coffee with me, Professor Alex. But there are other podcasts that are being uploaded. So definitely make sure that it's just I have different categories for the topics that I choose. So remember, morning coffee is more the economic side of it, but there's just so many things going on that I had to figure out a way to do it. So timing wise, I said in the morning's the best time. Sometimes you'll catch me in my bathrobe. Today I'm wearing this because this is super warm. I love this thing, but that's the way it works. Now, today's topic is going to be the Department of Education. Like always, there's misinformation out there. I prefer to use the word ignorance because that's really what it is at the end of the day. But the Department of Education, besides it's unconstitutional, even the Heritage Foundation had said that couldn't be done through an executive order. But now apparently executive orders for everything, right? It's just ridiculous. Almost as ridiculous as Trump posting on Truth Social a day or two ago that anybody who vandalizes a Tesla vehicle is going to be considered a domestic terrorist. Yeah, good luck with that one. But anyway, the Department of Education, there's a couple things I want to point out. One was when those that were opposed to Biden and the student loan forgiveness program, they were saying, why do we have to pay taxes on that? We didn't have student loans, or we paid off our student loans, or I didn't go to college, or whatever the answer was. And I thought it was a ridiculous argument because there's just so many things that our tax dollars get used for that we don't use it for. So, for example, if there's a park across the street and I don't go to that park, should my taxes get reduced? Or I don't take that road and I don't use that stoplight, so why would I pay taxes to fix that road? So the argument is just it's just ridiculous. But this is where I show you where everything is tied together. I don't have children, right? The Department of Education, let me look at these numbers to make sure. Okay, so the numbers are 103 billion, which amounts to 11% of the total revenue on average for schools, funding from the US Department of Education. Now, I have been saying from the beginning because people don't realize that things are all tied in together, especially when it comes to finances. It's like the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon, right? Um, your taxes are going to go up because think about it, it's 11%. It's on average. Some one school district might get more, another one might get less. Of course, depends on the tax revenue, tax rolls, and everything else. Um, but let's just say on average, that's the number, 11%. Now, if you lose 11% of your income, you've got to make that up somehow. So you're going to have to cut 11% of your expenses if that's possible. If not, you're going to get 11% more into debt. The numbers couldn't be easier. So if the federal government is now cutting 11% less of a check to the school district that you reside in, that school district is going to have to figure out how to make ends meet. It's going to mean firing some teachers or staff, less teachers, more students in the classroom, right? Which we never want. It could mean raising taxes. That's the easy one, right? We'll do a 0.5% sales tax somewhere. Or they'll find out other ways. Florida, I'm guessing, but it would only make sense to me. Florida's doing something they've never done before. Now, I'm 53. I've been driving since I was 16. So, however many years that turns out to be, um, we've never had license plates in the front. I don't see the reason for him in 2025. You can't say, well, the bank robber got away. We didn't have his tag. He wouldn't have his real tag anyway. So, what's the point of having a tag in the front? There's cameras everywhere. Some police cars have cameras all over the back and scanners. It's just another way to generate revenue. So if you pay $100 a year to have your tag and your registration and everything, now you're going to pay $200 a year, whatever number they're coming up with. It's another way to generate revenue. And that's what happens when the US Department of Education cuts back on the funding that they give to the states. So, one way or another, our taxes are going to go up. There's just no way around it. Taxes will go up and people are going to get fired or laid off. Now, add to that the Trump tariffs. That isn't looking any good either. You have the Trump tariffs. You have state taxes going up. This is all besides all the other chaos that's going on and all the other financial issues that are going on at the federal government level. But this is why I say it's all intertwined, it's all connected. So when people are advocating get rid of the Department of Education, they don't know what that means. And going back to what I was saying, I don't have kids. So why should I have to pay for that? That's why the argument of student loans was ridiculous. If you actually look at it, states like where Governor Pritzker is at, where they actually wipe out your student loans up to 40,000. I have a blog post on that in a video, but you have to buy a home. And a lot of states are doing that because they realize it's a good way to generate tax revenue. You're thinking, how would I make money, or the state, if they pay off $40,000 of your student loan? It's simple because they're going to get it from somewhere else. All the money you spent buying a car, going out, going shopping, buying a home, they get that money back. A lot of cities, I remember when I used to have my office, used to do that. You had to have your house for 10 years. And at that point, if you sold it before, you had to pay some sort of a prepayment penalty. But all these cuts at the end of the day is why I keep saying we need to be prepared financially. It's not just as simple as taking, like Elon Musk did, right, with a chainsaw, and all problems are going to magically disappear. It just doesn't work that way. They could have simply gotten together X amount of committees and said, where do we trim the fat and everything else? The problem is they're trimming the fat where it makes the least amount of sense. To eliminate employees, which is such a small percentage of the overall budget, is illogical. And so all you end up doing is if there's an division with 10 employees and now they have one, guess what? No work is going to get done there. And let's see what's going on with the Social Security Administration. If those checks start coming in late, there's going to be problems for sure. That would really cause the revolt. I want to say that would be the last straw. That and the IRS checks, but that is the problem that we're facing. It's not just the Department of Education and people regurgitating information on social media. Oh, it's a bloated budget. They don't even know if it's a bloated budget. What they don't understand is how everything is intertwined, how everything is connected. The What's happening at the federal government level will affect private corporations as well. FedEx came out and already said we might have um, cuts. They might be impacted by the economy. I wrote a blog post. I put it in this video too in the description, talking about 40%. It was the I forgot his name, but he was a top economist for Chase, JP Morgan Chase, and he had said there's a 40% chance that we're going to hit a recession. Now you add up all these figures together, all these things, all this chaos that's going on. It seems unavoidable at this point. So people can make this as political as they want. We're potentially the key word that we're afraid of is stagflation. If that happens to come in, but you have to look at this from every single angle. And that was why I did another blog post the other day saying one way or another this is going to affect you. The question is how. And then the answer is, you know I have to do A, B, and C. But if you figure out the how, then you can move forward and say I've got to take these steps to protect myself. So it's not easy. I'm the first one to say that. I'm in education, so we'll see how that goes. I'm in a private university, so maybe I'm fine there. But when you look at these little things, little steps that the state starts taking, steps that they start taking, such as putting another license plate on the front car, we never needed that. I've been driving what 35 years without that, and we seemed okay. Nothing's happened. Why is that a necessity all of a sudden? It's just another way to generate revenue. And again, we see it sometimes with a tourism tax at a hotel. That's going to be pointless because you have a lot of countries saying, don't visit the United States, starting off with Canada. The Canadians are going to boycott, the U.S. A lot of them spend time here in the springtime, golfing every single day, whether Miami or the Naples area. And this is carrying over to the US, where people are saying we're afraid that if we go there, Somehow we get locked up. I forgot her name, but there was an actress from Canada who was locked up for 2 weeks. She shouldn't have been, but she was. And so we're going to lose tourism revenues too. So, I don't know where this theory is coming in that all this is good for the economy. No one who's credible seems to agree with that, but that's where we are. And remember, chaos creates political instability. Political instability creates financial instability. So I don't care what state you're in. Obviously, the poorer the state, the more you're going to get hit with these funds from the U.S. Department of Education that have been wiped out, which means that state has to make up for the difference somehow. And if you're one of these more poorer states, then how are they going to make up the difference? Again, they're going to increase their taxes. If the state's already poor and the taxes are being increased, this doesn't help the situation any. So all I can say is buckle up. I think it's going to be rough. We're still early on this. Trump hasn't even been in office 3 months, and you can see how much has happened in such a short period of time. But it will take a few months for this to take effect. It was just, if for those of you that are my age in the 2008 mortgage foreclosure crisis, that didn't happen overnight, right? It took a while for that momentum. It's a snowball effect, like I keep saying. It's going down the hill, it's getting a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. Eventually, you have your avalanche, right? So this year is potentially where we can see this. So you have to ask yourself, what changes are you going to make? I've made the statement in the past that I'm lucky that my wife's car was totaled when it was in December, because if it gets totaled now in the next hurricane season, all of a sudden I'm paying 25% more for the same car. It doesn't make any sense. I even have a posting of an RV carport. I don't know why they call it RV carport. It's not for a car, but it would cost. I've posted the meme just showing the math. It would cost me $9,000 something under the tariffs, because it's steel and aluminum. It would be now $12,000 something. So I'm right now afraid to get $12,000 more into debt. So what did I do? I bought a little topper. It's nylon with straps that get strapped to the RV. Cost me $80, and that's how I'm going to be protecting my roof from now. It's $80 versus 12,000 in an unsure economy. Those are one of the steps that I've taken. I'm gonna do other things. Maybe I'll post a video. I like to work with wood and stuff like that, where I'm going to surround it basically with wood panels and stuff like that. But there's not going to be a roof on top. I'm not building, this complicated roof system 15 feet high. I'm not getting into that. But it would have just been easier to hire someone like my steel aluminum garage to have them do it. But again, it's 9 grand. I'm not spending that 9 grand right now. $80 until I can figure out what's going to happen. So those are little steps you have to take. Same thing. If you're going to buy a car, you're going to buy it now, maybe buy a used car. If there's no choice, just to avoid all these issues coming down the road. All right. So I wish everybody a good morning. Enjoy that cup of coffee. Be safe. And more importantly, be prepared. All right. Take care, everyone.